Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we're going to talk about 5 reasons you should never chase a woman. It's going to be a good topic because a lot of people don't even realize they're chasing. A lot of guys don't realize they're chasing. And one of the biggest issues with this is define what chasing a woman is. The idea that one person tells you, oh, you're chasing her, but you don't believe you are. That's the key to start with. Okay. If you don't even know that you're chasing someone or a woman for that matter, then you're just going to subconsciously do it again and again. And then later on, you're like, I know I'm chasing. Why are you chasing? So we're going to talk about that today and how to define that. And then we have some mailbag questions from a previous live stream I did this week. So if you have comments, make sure you put them in the comments because Andrew Aragon, how you doing, bud? Make sure you put it in the comments because I will get back to another live streams. I do check all the comments. So if you have a comment about this topic, throw it in there. During the chat, I'll come back to it. All right. So 5 reasons you should never chase a woman. Let's start off with this. First off, if you're chasing, catch yourself and stop. Think about yourself literally running. Okay, what am I doing? Just stop. Catch your breath. Okay, so that's my first advice. And really define the difference between chasing and courting a woman that's receptive to your attention and interest. It's different. So some of this stuff could get lost if you were following certain channels that are like, oh, if she's not interested, just don't talk to her or this or that. If a woman's receptive, and when I say she's receptive, it might be subliminal. It might be a little bit of a smile with the eyes. It might be, a little brush on the shoulder with her hand. There might be a little bit of signs that she's actually interested, but she's not all in. She could just be shy, right? So define the difference between chasing and courting a woman that's receptive to your attention and interest. It's different. That's really the key because there's a sweet spot. It's not chasing if she stops at a point to let you catch her. Think about that for a minute. If she's stopping to take a moment to receive what you're bringing to her, well, then it's not just chasing. And a lot of guys would just go, oh, it's a chase if she makes work of it. Okay. You really have to define what's considered chasing. Okay. So there's so many of these blanket terms like toxic relationship. What does that even mean to you? Okay. If you get shut down or rejected one time for a date, would it be chasing to ask her out again? I get this question a lot. First of all, like, how interested are you? And this is where a lot of the information on Instagram, YouTube, I'm on Instagram. It's very scaled information. What does that mean? It's generalized. So what you have to do is become a better reader of individual women and their personalities and character, right? So I don't think so. So to answer that question, if you get shut down and rejected one time for a date, would it be chasing to ask her out again? I don't think so in most cases. It depends on how it went down. If it's extremely cold, then I wouldn't ask out again. If it was with an attitude, no. But if it's excuse-based or something like that, you can ask her out a second time. But I would stop after the second time. I wouldn't ask her out again. All right? And what were the reasons you were rejected or shut down? That's a big question, right? Because this is what gets lost, okay? This is what gets lost. Is her reasons for rejecting you outside of you? For example, she was in 5 hours of traffic. She's really tired from work. Just got in a fight with a relative on the phone. These are things that you think don't affect her decision-making in the moment. and it really gets lost. Oh, she just rejected me. Oh, she just shut me down. Oh, she's just not interested. So you could just catch her at a wrong time. I mean, literally, if anyone's ever done sales before, and I don't even know if they still do it, and if they still do it, I'm shocked, but cold calling, where people literally do cold calling and call up people and ask them if they're interested. Now they just do cold emails, which is annoying as hell. But you call people at certain times of the day that they're going to be more receptive. It's like Tim Ferriss that wrote the 4-Hour Workweek said he had a breakthrough when he realized it's probably better that I call certain people at this time zone in the morning, because in the morning they're going to be more receptive. So sometimes when you ask someone out on a date for the number, for their Instagram, the timing is more important than just the fact that if they like you or not. I think that gets lost, right? And so you're thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to chase her. If you ask another time and then you take into consideration, wow, she looked like she was in a bad mood. Now, I'm not suggesting be like, what's wrong? What are you irritated about? Because if you don't know someone, you're on a cold approach or something, they're not going to really want to share their stuff with you. Certain people would, but a lot of them would be like, what? Like, why are you asking me all this information? So what I'm saying is, if you ask a woman out and she's not available or she doesn't want to go with you, don't take it personal, right? You could maybe ask her out again if the timing's right. And if she says no, no, fine, we're good. The response to that is, okay. It's not, oh, maybe another time. Like if you're available next week, like, don't do that. Okay, it's too much. It's needy. Be okay with it. All right. I'm gonna get to the reasons in a moment. Number one, women don't like to be chased by men unless they are needy and have ego-based aspirations to tell her friends how much you are fawning over them. There's a lot of women like this, by the way. So there are some women that may seem receptive to chasing, but really it's for the wrong reasons. Now think about that for a moment. So you might have been in a relationship where you chased and it worked out for you because the woman was naturally needy. That's what she wanted. That's what she desired. Over time, she'll lose some attraction for you, even though in the beginning it worked out that way. There's also a large portion of women out there that are ego-based, that love to be jocked, which is an old school term I grew up with when I was in high school. She's jocking or he's jocking, right? I'm not even sure if that's used anymore. But if you're in that space where you're the one chasing her, there's a lot of women out there that love it. And they'll breadcrumb you along the way. They'll act like, oh, it's really sweet, it's really kind. All the while they're telling their friends, look at the text he just sent me. So I'm saying in some cases, it might quote unquote work. It might seem receptive, but the reality is it's receptive to those individuals that are needy, which isn't a good relationship to be in, because where does neediness end? Or women that are ego-based that love to tell their friends how much you're chasing them. Now, I've witnessed this having girlfriends have their girlfriends over and having girl talk, right? Like they're sitting around having lunch or something like that. And I've always been one, my past girlfriends, if their friends are around, they speak freely around me. Like they don't feel like, oh, I don't want to talk around Mac or something like that. And how often they will make jokes or comments about a guy chasing them to the group, which is completely ego-based. The guy's in love with him. The guy's all over him. It's like, look at this text. It's just so common. So they might string you along just for the attention grab. Keep that in mind. Number two, this is simple. You lose value when you chase. Scarcity is attractive. Okay? If you're available, and you want them, you just lose value. That's just how it is in the marketplace. That's how it is with relationships a lot of times. That's how it is when you start dating. Okay, when you get into a serious relationship where you're 1 year, 2 years, you don't lose value by not being available, okay? That's a different step in the relationship. And this is why a lot of times guys that are really good at pickup and pulling women and getting their numbers or hooking up. When they get into a relationship, those same tactics have to change a bit because there's expectations that are a bit higher. If you're not up for that, that's fine, but it's a different relationship. Number 3, you come off as desperate, which isn't attractive. Okay. It conveys that you don't have other options and that you'll do anything to get them. That's a big one too. It's like, again, you might get one of these women that have a big ego that thinks it's cute that you'll do anything for them, but really it's not attractive. It's not long-term. And the best case for you is that they take your desperation as an opportunity to use you, whether that's for money, whether that's for a ride to the airport, whether that's for a free dinner. Items that people are desperate for become more expensive. Think about that for a moment. Why do people pay so much for a lawyer? Right? Because you're desperate to get out of the thing that you're in, right? Desperation makes things more expensive. So a woman that's going to be receptive to you being desperate, needy, or chasing, if she does respond to that, she's going to use it to her advantage. Now, a woman with options that's high quality, that has some integrity, she's not going to be attracted to from the get-go. Okay? So this is where this gets tricky. It's not a one-size-fits-all because there are women out there that can camouflage being receptive to your chasing or your neediness. But the reality is they have a secondary gain from it that supports their lack of integrity. Does that make sense? Number 4, women who have options want a guy that appears to have options too. I mean, when I say appears, you should have options, right? But if she has a lot of options, she gets a lot of attention, and you don't, it's going to be lopsided. You're going to be insecure. You're going to think she's better than you. And nowadays, you know when someone has more options by their Instagram account, by the fact that they get looked at more in public than you do, by the fact that they're getting texted all the time. So the ideal thing is a woman would rather, and here's the problem. Every relationship's uneven. But when it's like 80-20, 90-10, where someone gets way more attention than the other person, there's always going to be insecurity issues. So even if you were able to pull a woman that you felt is extremely hot and has a lot of options, and you're like, wow, I don't know how she chose me, which would be an extremely weak way to look at things. But some guys do that where they're like, I guess I just got lucky. It just makes me cringe when I hear that. But women that have options, they won't tell you that, but they want a guy that appears or does have options too. And a guy that has options never chases. Because deep down, he's like, if you really want to hit the door and you're being unreasonable, even though it hurts, I have love for you, you're not the only show in town. I'm capable of meeting someone else. And this, for a lot of women, it'll really bother them because when a guy gets to that level or that point and he's in a relationship, you get in an argument, he's like bulletproof. He's centered. He's neutral. He doesn't overreact to things. He doesn't get too emotional. And if you take it too far, if you say like, oh, I'm just going to break up with you, he goes, all right, let me open the door for you, hon. Now, deep down, because I have clients, just had one yesterday. Dude's extremely good with women. There's nothing about my coaching session with him that's teaching him about attraction or how to get women. He does everything completely correct because he's on his purpose. He takes care of his body. Women love him, right? It's what he comes to me for is to sort out the emotional part, because in the moment he does everything right. He doesn't overreact, doesn't get emotional, but he's human. This is what gets lost, even if you're good with women, is when you do break up or someone does something that hurts your feelings, it still lingers. So he comes to me to sort that out. Like, what did this mean here? Like, what should I do about this? But when he's handling it in real time, very good at it. And the reason why he's really good with women is because he knows he has other options. He knows he's always been good with women. He knows women that are highly attracted to him. He gets a lot of attention. So he's always on point when it comes to that. That doesn't mean when he's in a breakup, he doesn't hit me up and go, hey, man, I want to talk about this. Which, by the way, even if you're good with women, it's nice to have a coach to go to bounce things off of. And so you're not getting into a hole going the wrong direction. Because sometimes when people talk to me in a live coaching session, I'll just reassure them they're doing the right thing. And that actually feels good, because what happens is sometimes you can be sometimes you could be doing the right thing and you have a friend, family, or colleague that says, oh no, I wouldn't do that. And they take you off course when you were already on the right course. And this is, like I've said before, friends, family, and colleagues, they're just going to tell you what happened in their relationship and project that. A good coach or therapist about relationships, because of my experience or their experience, I've seen a lot of relationships I wasn't in or directly affected about that I have a Rolodex. Okay, this is what usually happens in this situation. The amount of times in a coaching session, someone will go, that's exactly what she said. That's exactly what my mom said. Someone that's older and respect, like, you're right. You're exactly right. It's not because I just was born a relationship genius or something like that. Hell no. I wouldn't even say in my 20s I was great with relationships, right? I had a really good one in my 20s. But over the years, and it's been years now of coaching, unpacking breakup stories, I got a Rolodex in my head of different situations that I wasn't in. So it enables me to be fully objective. Totally different ball game. And I have different things to go off of. It's the same thing if you look at football, basketball, any sport. They always are going to hire a coach that has experience, because the experience a coach has, or a therapist, is going to level them up to help you. Now, what's the difference? You go to a friend, family, or colleague member, they've been in 3 serious relationships and they date a lot. All they're going to do is project their situations. Unless you really like the way they roll in their relationships. But here's the caveat to that. Their partner, their girlfriend, their husband, their wife, right? They're not the same as who you're dealing with. And that's the part that gets twisted in the information you'll get. All right, so number 5, creating mystery and not being able to figure out a guy's next move keeps you on a woman's mind. This is just attraction 101. And the ironic thing is, women don't like it. I've had women clients come to me and they don't like it. I don't understand why I keep chasing this guy. I don't understand why he doesn't call me. I don't understand, like, I gave him a gift and he didn't even seem excited about it, right? They want to break the code, especially if they aren't used to a challenge from men. If they're not used from a challenge from men, it'll be on their mind all the time. Some guys don't even know they're doing this because they have so many options, they don't zero in. But some guys know they're doing this because they've read about it in attraction books. And when women come to me, they're like, what is this? Why is he doing this? Well, he's got options. He cares less than you do. He's not invested in getting you. And it bugs the hell out of you. It creates an open loop, and you're trying to crack the code. You're trying to end the story. And chasing is the opposite of creating mystery. You're extremely predictable. And think about this in terms of a movie, right? To me, these days, there's a lot of movies out there with a lot of cheap action, highly predictable. For me, right? I'm going to pat my own back. I'm a pretty intelligent individual in a lot of ways. Not everything. It's almost an insult to your intelligence, some movies that are so predictable, right? But when you watch a movie and you go, wow, I can't figure this out, doesn't it keep you engaged? Isn't that really the essence of a good movie, is when you can't figure it out and you want to go to the end? That's how dating is, right? So number 6, this is the bonus one. The minute you start chasing, you tell your subconscious mind, stop looking for other options and put all your focus and energy on this chase. Men who usually get what they want or have a big ego will chase the longest. Why is that? Because to them, they're hard workers. They get what they want, and so they want to work at something because they worked hard at their business. They worked hard at painting their house. They work hard at doing, working on their car, whatever. So they apply that to one woman, and they think to themselves, I'm going to get her. I'm going to get her. In some cases, it can work. Just make sure that while you're on the chase, she stops along the way and is receptive. The problem is when a guy that gets a lot of women, that has a big ego or has a lot of money, gets rejected, he looks at it as this huge challenge and will chase even longer because he's conflicted by the idea. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Like, do you know how great I am? And he keeps trying to tap her on the shoulder. Like, look how great I am. But clients like that, I often ask, I understand you got a lot going for you. You got a great job. You got money. You got this. You go to the gym every day. You do all the things right. And you can't figure out, like, what's her problem? What's her problem? Why don't you prove to yourself that you can find someone equal or higher value? It's like, and they'll look at me and be like, because to me, I love confidence. I love you tooting your own horn. I love when a person says, I'm really good at what I do. Someone else will be like, that's arrogant. No, it's not. It's confidence. Arrogance is when you're better than someone else. Confidence is when you believe in yourself. And if you say things like that, I'm with you. People will text me, they're like, ask me questions about a coaching session. And at the end, I'll say, hey, if you don't find it useful or helpful moving forward, I'll give you your money back. I'm very good at what I do. Now, that's not arrogant. I'm confident. Wouldn't you rather have someone like that than have someone say, oh, you know what? I think I can help you maybe. Right? So what happens with these ego-based individuals, they just chase longer. Think about it if you were literally chasing someone, okay? Like hide and go seek back in the day, right? You can't really chase multiple people at the same time. They'll just go in different directions, and you'll have to choose one to chase. So the idea of chasing actually zeroes you in on one woman or one party. And that's why I said, if you're going to do that, make sure they stop at some point and let you catch them. But if you can't catch them, or they keep spitting in your face or throwing mud on the ground to rough you up, what are you doing? Right? But it literally, that's one of the worst things about it is the minute you start chasing and you make that your play, you just eliminate all these other options. You get tunnel vision. It's like an animal in the wild cannot chase two animals at the same time. They're going to split, right? All right. Let me get into the live stream for a little bit. Chasing should never, it's pursue is healthy. Okay. Andrew, good to hear from you, bud. Andrew has a Instagram account that he divulges a lot of good stuff. Been following your lives. Keep the videos. Glad you've been consistent. Thanks, Andrew. Chasing and pursuing, big difference. It's always funny because Aragon was the name of my high school. Most guys have no clue on how to approach the courting process. What I would add to that, Rob, is, again, there's a lot of general material on YouTube, okay? As I do this longer and longer and help people out with their relationships, the number one thing you have to realize is your situation's unique, but you want to put it in a box because that's what we do with things. It's like, how do I bake a cake? Someone can give you the ingredients and you're like, I'll do this, this, and this, and I'll bake a good cake. And you're like, great. But if you are looking at relationships, you can do those ingredients, but the individual that you're pursuing, that doesn't work for. So what you need to realize is, how do I want to go about things where if someone's not receptive, I can just move on and be done with it. I'm May, how you doing? It should be noted that chasing and pursuing are two different elements. Good note. Women that have options will not settle for anything less than what she usually wants. Men that have no options sometimes show signs of desperation. Of course. And things are more expensive when someone knows you're desperate, right? Yeah, women that have options will not settle for anything less than what she really wants or something of a high quality, right? I would add that men, a lot of times, what's interesting about that, I've noticed men that have a lot of options will settle for something below par if the intimacy is good. Not everyone, but a lot of them. A lot of them. Number 5, creating mystery. Most guys can't get this one right, or at least how to balance this one. You know what? Because as I'm stuttering here, Rob, good point. I think they feel like it's manipulative or it's playing games. Some guys actually literally do it naturally just by the fact that they're busy, they have other options. If you're someone that has a lot of time on your hands or is needy or is desperate, you won't be able to create mystery because in your head, you're like, I just want them. So it's counterintuitive, but you think of ways to be nicer, right? But natural mystery that's created is when someone's actually busy, when someone actually has other things going on in their life. And really, when you first meet someone, whether they are, Miss America pageant, high quality, high value. I'm just so tired of these high value terms. It's in my head though. They will naturally create mystery because they have other stuff to do. They have other options. Number 6, most guys think chasing is the best approach because that's what they see in movies and TV. That showcases this method as successful. Big mistake. Yeah, Hollywood plays a big role. Don't ever leave your wingman. Great movie, man. Top Gun the sequel. Big fan of it. Thanks for dropping that line, Iceman. Some men like that sort of abuse. Rob, I don't know if they like it or if they are just programmed to it. So what I mean by that is that they don't even know they're in it. Because I've had clients that are like, I don't know why I keep doing this. Something in their program from watching their parents interact. Just had a client yesterday. We're talking. Like I said, this guy's really good with women. So it's not like I'm coaching about dating. And he's talking about, he's like, she did this, she did that. I'm like, what's her relationship like with her parents? He's like, she's really close to her mom. Her mom and her dad are still together. They're quite old. So we're talking. So as he's going on, she keeps trying to control things in the relationship. And this is a big one. I haven't heard many people describe it this way, but when you're with someone that just wants to win. So you have an argument, you have a fight, you have a disagreement as a couple. That's okay. The problem is when someone wants to win when their argument's not very good. Or when the argument starts to even out, but they still just want to win. That's controlling, it's ego-based, it's toxic. And yesterday he kept having that. I was like, she just wants to win every argument. Like, this is when guys go, I can't win. You get in those situations, right? And then you look at her parents' relationship. And I asked him yesterday, I said, what's her parents? He goes, oh, her mom's the boss. Her mom runs the show. He's not a guy to be bossed around. So the woman that he's with just keeps trying to create that situation where she's controlling because that's what she's seen from her parents. So when you say some men like that sort of abuse, no, they witnessed it and they feel like that's the way to go because that's how relationships are. It was absorbed at a young age or in a first relationship. Rosanna, how you doing? It's been a while. Yeah, programmed to like it might have a deeper elements involved in their upbringing to allow them to find pleasure in that sort of dynamic. Right, Rob? All right, so let's get into, I do have a mailbag of some comments and questions from the in regards to dating apps. So I had a video that I just put up a couple days ago. The link will be down below regarding dating apps. So one person wrote, the first point is so true. I've hooked up with easily 15 girls over the past year and half over dating apps. Okay, good for you. But it is basically impossible to find a good match girlfriend material. So I'm just going to say that I don't think it's impossible at all. I've had clients that have had dating apps that have worked for them, that they've met a long-term partner, even gotten married. They've sent me pictures and emails and stuff like that. It really depends on what dating app you're using and what demographic you're in, right? So if you're in your 40s and you're more settled down, or you're a woman that's got a couple kids and is really not looking to play around, then you're going to be more apt to have that opportunity to probably meet someone long term. I think if you're in your 20s and you live in a college area or something like that, you think that it's the dating app, but really you're filtering for those kinds of relationships. So he writes, so my conclusion, if you have a good pictures of yourself, decent text game, and are looking just to hook up, I'd recommend dating apps. If you're into something more meaningful, I'd steer clear of them and meet girls in person. I would just say that there's so many dating apps now. Check out the different dating apps and what they're filtering in individual ones, because there's certain dating apps that I think, and I'm not going to get into those because I don't know them extensively. But I've had clients that use ones that I've never heard of, and that's where they usually find someone that's a little bit more serious, right? And those ones are usually the ones that you have to pay for. So you'd have to pay like $30 a month. And correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the young people in their 20s would never pay for a dating app. So that right there would make a difference. So I'm saying that thanks for the comment, but just keep in mind the circumstances. Another comment was from a female, and I'm not going to use their name on the comments. Maybe they don't want it in the live stream, but in regards to dating apps, I had mentioned that a lot of my clients, not a lot of my clients, but a lot of people come to me and they go, why did this person ghost me? And they met him on a dating app. They met him on a dating app and they're like, we went out 2 times. Our texting was great. We kissed, we hooked up, and now she ghosted me. Why, Mac? Why? I'm like, you didn't really know her that well. She might not have been interested in you as much as you're interested in her. Well, like when we went out though, you know, it seemed great to you. You have no background on a dating app individual other than a profile. And so this idea that you went out on a couple dates and you really know them, you don't know them. And there's a large portion of people that are on dating apps that if you found them and you're attracted to them, someone else has been contacting them. So they probably have 2 or 3 going right now, and they might have picked someone else. It was like, I saw this really good interview with Charlie Munger, the partner or associate of Warren Buffett. And he was saying when they look at companies to overtake and people that run the companies, he goes, you know, everyone goes, oh, it's in the interview. It's in the interview. And he said, no, it's in their background of what they've actually done at the company, like the results that they've done. Now, here's what's interesting about that. In a dating app, you don't get a background, right? You get a resume. You get people's highlights. You get people taking pictures in their best light, right? So you think you're getting this profile, a CV, or a resume for hooking up or being a partner or something like that. But really, they're not going to put really who they are the last 10, 15 years, right? So that's the thing about dating apps. You're going to meet a lot of people. You're going to have to filter through the sand to get to the gold. And people don't like that. They don't like work. They don't like the fact that, oh, I'm going to have to go on some bad dates. This is the biggest thing, the biggest concept. Go on some bad dates. Just had a client. He's 21, right? He's going on and on about how bad this girl looked that was from a dating app. He's like, dude, she was fat. He's going on and on. She's ugly, right? And I said, and then he's like, I'm like, but you went out on a date. Isn't that better than staying at home? And just because that didn't work out, you still interacted with a woman. You got a story to tell. I know a lot of people might be offended by the fact that he was talking that way, but he was just being candid with me as a coach, right? And so it got him out of that rumination of sitting in his room and going, oh, dating apps suck, this, that. Get out there. Go on some bad dates. Have some stories to tell, right? I mean, the amount of people that tell me some funny, crazy stories about meeting people on dating apps. It's fun lunch talk. Now, if something goes really bad and you meet someone bad, that's not cool. But like, it's getting you out there. It's getting you active, right? And finish off the date or leave early. You can be like, you know what, this isn't working, and leave. That's your prerogative. But she wrote, ghosting is easier than having the talk. And I think what she meant by this, as a female, even if you met someone on a dating app and it's not working, or deep down, because there's a lot of people that are passive aggressive, or they don't want to say they're not that interested, and they'll carry on the date like they're interested. They'll carry on the date and be cool. And that, to me, is a nice thing. You should be able to sense that they're not interested, but they're being cool. Some people don't know that. And if that's the case, it's okay, right? It's just like, they don't call you again. That means they're not interested in going out with you again. They're talking to someone else. Why can't you accept that? The reason you can't accept that is because you like them more than they like you. And you're like, well, we matched up. Well, when you went out that first time or second time, for them, you weren't really the same match as they were for you. And you get that conflicted. So what she's saying in the comments, she's like, ghosting is just easier than having that talk, because what happens is some people, if you're like, yeah, I'm just sorry, I'm just not that interested, or really, I'm not that attracted to you, they'd rather just not talk to you again, because the relationship's pretty shallow anyways. And then there's the outside chance that you want more details and reasons. Well, I thought we had a really good time. Why? It's like, how can I explain that we had a good time, but I'm not attracted to you, and not hurt your feelings? So ghosting is just easier for some people. Now, the other comment that I got was, Mac, I matched with this attractive woman and we chatted some Friday, and I invited her to join me for a quick drink, but she never replied. Would it be weak to reach out one last time to invite her out for a drink? No. Would that be considered chasing? So this is directly related to this topic today. No, it wouldn't be considered chasing. If you ask her out again, as long as when she didn't reply, you didn't text her back like, hey, did you get my text? Hey, I was wondering. So it depends on where you're at and how much you like her. I probably, if I just got ignored, wouldn't do it. But if you did that, maybe one more time, said, hey, just want to check in with you. Did you want to get a drink sometime? If she doesn't respond the next time, or she bats you down, fine. The key to that, do you have the ability to take the hit rejection wise and just be okay with it and then keep moving? Right? I wouldn't think it was ideal if she didn't respond, but there is a possibility when it comes to texting that an individual's at a red light, they get the text, they look at it, and they go, oh, green light. Okay. Oh, and you're not an important person in their life. They just met you before. So that is a possibility. People are busy in the moment of getting a text. People don't ever think about that. So if you hit her up again, she'd be like, maybe she's like, oh, I was meaning to respond to that. I'm sorry. And some people get a lot of texts from work. They're very active on social media, so they get a lot of stuff. Just as long as you don't hit her up with, hey, I was wondering if you got my text or not, this or that, make it this big guilt trip. You can be like, not sure if you got my text before, but did you want to get a drink? She says, oh, no, I didn't get your text before, but I don't think I'm available this Friday. Then leave it alone. Does that make sense? That's how you handle that. The idea that you already feel like, oh, to be needy, it's not needy. It's not needy if you have that mindset. You can ask her out a second time, because there's a really good possibility that someone's busy when they got your text. I know in my own life, I've had people like, I'm not sure if you got, like, I was like, you know what? I did see your email. I just was in the middle of answering 2 or 3 other emails, right? That were maybe more important, because I'm a coach where people pay me money for an hourly fee. They come first, right? So if work comes first and you come in with some kind of random question, you're like, oh, did you get my email? And that's not something that someone paid me an hourly fee for. I might be in a different mode at that time and I might forget. And so with texting, now I say you can follow up. Just don't follow up with a guilt trip, or I know you didn't really like me much. Follow up with just a direct question one more time. And if they don't respond the second time, I wouldn't do it again. But I wouldn't classify that as needy. Also asked me, and I touched on this because the same person asked me this, can you please make a video resisting the urge to contact an ex that dumped you? I'm hung up on an ex, but the urge to contact her here is super strong at times. It would be a huge help to have a video of someone that I admire. I appreciate that you admire. Like I said, I think I talked about this briefly in another video. I'd like to touch on it again. This would be needy. Someone that dumped you. So to me, when you classify yourself as being dumped, which I don't like the word anyways, but it's different than saying we broke up. Okay. In my past relationships, I feel like they're breakups. I don't feel like I got dumped. Okay. Maybe that's my ego. But I certainly have had a couple where I broke up, but I felt like it was more like we agreed things aren't working out and we're not going to be able to fix this problem. Like getting dumped is more like, hey, we need to have a talk and I just don't have the same feelings anymore. And you're like, I have 100% love for you. I'm so interested in you. And she's like at 40%, or she just leaves you for someone else. Breaking up is more like we've got problems and they just aren't getting fixed. They aren't getting, we're not working through our problems, right? And someone really doesn't want to work on those things, or you both don't. Those have been more of my situations. They still hurt when you break up because you're like, why don't you want to make it work, right? Or why don't you want to see things my way? But getting dumped, if you classify it that way, I don't think you call in that situation. Now, it would be best if you sent your details to writemac.com and sent me your story and told me how you got dumped so I could put a little bit of tailored advice to that question. But if you already feel that way, you're already at a disadvantage. You're already playing not to lose. You already feel like she's got an upper hand on you. Does that make sense? So classifying the breakup as I got dumped, but I want to call her. So what do you want to call her? Because the worst thing is I just want closure. People say this all the time. What's closure if they dumped you or they told you they don't want to be with you? Well, I want them to explain some things. In most cases, they said something, but you didn't like the way it was conveyed. And in some cases, you know deep down why they're not with you, but you kind of want to hear it, right? But the reason maybe they didn't give you so much information is they're probably sparing you hurt feelings. They don't want to say something unkind. And really, for most people, the closure part, where once you already broke up, newsflash, that was closure. Especially if it was a quote unquote dump me thing. All right, let me get into the live stream real quick. Got a little spirited chat here. Let's see here. So we had Rosanna, Eve, how you doing? Done fine, been working, etc. Okay. We should do a collab about creating a dating app profile. Yeah, absolutely. I don't consider myself an expert in that area, but just using reason and logic kind of helps without emotion. Clarifying what it is you want. I would probably say that consider the dating app you're actually using, and probably that would be different profiles. But that's a highly useful topic, Clutch. Truth of life, yes. They only bring it translated to. Okay, sorry, that's about the mouth moves. Why are some guys scared of pretty women and assume we're high maintenance? So you're talking about yourself? It's resistance. I'm scared to talk to you, or in their experience with pretty women, they've been rejected before, or they've witnessed them to be high maintenance. And human beings like to generalize based on their experiences. And unfortunately, a lot of human beings, including myself, including most people, unless they're mindful, do some meditation, do some of those things, kind of learn about how the mind works, which I've done, and it's absolutely enlightening. Wish I would have known it when I was younger. But they've dealt with one or two pretty women that were high maintenance, and so now all pretty women are like that. And that's just how the brain works. That's how it processes things. So that's where that comes from. Also, if you watch movies a lot of times, that seems to be the case. But I wouldn't say all men are scared of pretty women. I wouldn't say that that's true at all. I'd say there's some guys out there that I've known guys before that will take a shot at any woman he's attracted to. And it's almost like I've had friends like this where I'm like, God. And the guy's not necessarily high quality or highly attractive or gets a lot of women. He's just fearless. So I wouldn't say that's exactly true that they assume you're high maintenance. Now, what are they assuming that off of? If you have an expensive handbag or an expensive car, having a conversation with someone would get to the bottom of that really quick. But here's the crazy thing, Rosanna, and thanks for throwing that in the comments and creating a good question to talk about. Here's what's really interesting. What's your definition of high maintenance? Define it. Well, it's this. Well, it's different to different people. I could have a buddy and I'm like, damn, she's high maintenance. And he'll be like, nah, not really. Because he's comparing that to something different. So these kinds of terms, right? Someone can find someone that's financially needy, like they need money all the time to be high maintenance. Someone else can find someone that's needy for attention to be high maintenance. But the finance and the neediness for attention or intimacy or to be hugged and touched, things like that, those are two different things, right? I would say, Rosanna, also the environments that you're hanging out in would lead to more men being confident around good-looking women, right? So if you were in certain atmospheres where men are more confident, let's just say, I'll give you an example. I used to work in the financial district of San Francisco a long, long time ago when I was in San Francisco State, when I was in college. And I had an internship in the high rises of San Francisco. It was actually really cool because I worked in those high rises. So whenever you go over the Bay Bridge, you're like, yeah, I worked in that building. That was pretty cool. So I used to be in the financial district, which I didn't grow up in that part of the city. Financial district, every guy's in a suit, every woman's in a business suit. The people you come across in that district just ooze confidence. Might be a facade, but in most cases it's not. It's not just because most of the people there make a lot of money. It's because that's who they are. And so I would venture to say if you put yourself in an atmosphere like that, you wouldn't have guys scared to approach or talk to you if they thought you were pretty. Do you see what I'm saying? So the atmospheres, the environments that you're in are going to lead to that more than you think. Because by virtue of their appearance, they sense she is of higher value than him. He has no clue how to deal with it based on his experience. Okay. Genetics, lack of physical affection and intimacy. I don't know if that's in regards to. You just gave a case study for the Chinese social credit system. I did? I don't know. I don't know what that was in regards to. I'm a little behind on the chat. If you elaborate on that, Clutch. Get fit with Sunshine Sandy. That happens a lot. A lot of people will think you are married or already taken. That time you're single like, whoa. So let me step in on this because that's two comments about the same thing that men are scared to approach women that seem pretty or very attractive. I would add this. Don't discount your body language or your approach. So you might be like, I'm not high maintenance. I'm a real chill girl. I can go to a ball game and have a slice of pizza. I'm real down to earth. But maybe because you don't have a video camera on yourself when you're in a coffee shop, maybe you're not coming off as down to earth as you think you are. Not saying that about you, Rosanna. I'm not saying that about you, Sunshine Sandy. I'm just saying that maybe the vibes or energy you're giving off isn't as down to earth as you think and is more the type that's a little stuck up. Possible? Body language, facial expressions. If you're not getting attention, men or women, your body language and the way you look, when I say the way you look, I'm saying your facial expressions. Don't think it's the other person. It's like, why didn't this person say hi to me? Why didn't this person say hi to me? I saw them. I had a class with them before. Why didn't it's like, were you talking like that? So are they supposed to say hi to you before you say hi to them? Were you looking at them like this? Or were you like, hey, we have that class together? That's down to earth. That's outgoing. Being like this, that alludes maybe that you're high maintenance. Well, big thunderstorm just came in here over in Thailand. Sorry, I lost my spot here. Could be plenty of reasons, but usually I would say it weighs heavily on the man's past experience and confidence. The same fear that women feel when they are alone in an unknown space is the same fear men feel approaching a beautiful woman. There's a genetic component to it. It's not just a lack of experience. Okay. Good take. When I see a guy who appears to have a good character, I think that he is already in a relationship because of how he appears. That's a good point. Thanks for sharing that, Sunshine Sandy. And this is what makes him more attractive, actually. He's unavailable. You also assume that because you're like, why would he be single? So if I could ask Sunshine Sandy Rosanna, if you don't mind, being that it's 2022, why wouldn't you approach the guy? So you see a guy that you find attractive and you maybe feel like, oh, he seems scared to approach me, or he just seems to not notice me. There's women I know out there that are a little bit more aggressive, and they get guys. So I was just asking, are you open to approaching a guy with interest? Just curious. And if not, why not? Because I've known a lot of good dudes that end up with women that are the ones that kind of put the moves on them. It happens. And what's wrong with that? If we're going to be more equal about things. Sandy, do you assume he's taken because you find him attractive, or he's attractive because you assume he's taken? Good question. Because I find him attractive and assume that others would see him in that way too. Exactly. So it's social proofing. It's one of the biggest reasons why you'd be attracted to a guy. It's in a lot of the attraction books, which if you've read enough self-improvement or dating books, it's almost repetitive how much it comes up. So I think that's one of the reasons why sometimes I hold back from writing a book, because I'm like, doesn't everyone know this stuff already? This is how emotions usually lead women's rational. You feel a certain way about him, so you fit that criteria. If they approach the wrong person, that would have been a death sentence. How fatally is that? Interesting. Eve, Johnny boy. Hey, Mac, I'm thinking about ending things with someone. How fast can I schedule a coaching sesh about it? Go ahead and email me, and I'll let you know my availability today. Get off this. I get off this live stream. I won't be able to do it this afternoon, but Johnny boy, I don't know what your time zone is. So just email me and we'll go from there. And when I get off this live stream, we'll see if we can set something up for you, JB. But I'll tell you this. This is the best time to talk to me is when you're thinking about ending things, because it's really hard to go back. Like once you end things, I think Clutch would agree. It's like someone's like, I'm going to break up. They get into this. It's like I've told some people, it's not going to be easy to restart the game. It's not a video game. So if you're impulsively upset, angry, you've been with someone for a while and you're like, they did this, they did that, come to me and unpack it first, because you might cool down a little bit and you don't have to restart the game. Because once you break up, it's really hard to get back on deck. And the rope was broke for trust. I'm just down to earth country girl. LOL. Rosanna says, okay, I believe you. I usually take those shots. I'm a homebody, go to the beach, out to eat. That's about it. What beach do you go to? Where are you out in the world again, Rosanna, if I may ask? I know you've been on the live stream. I'm just curious. That's a good answer, Mac. Thank you. I appreciate that. What's up, Petty Betty? I live near a financial district here, so maybe you're one of those confident individuals. Coach Mac, the Chinese credit system was in regards to your comment of dating on dating apps, how we just had the pics and bio versus history. Really? Is that a joke? What's down to earth to you? Someone that's willing to be wrong when they don't know something, someone that if a topic comes up, they don't fakely try to outsmart you. They don't want to win every argument. They want to learn more about your end of it. I would say also they don't need to impress you. And they can laugh at themselves. So I'd say it's a really nice compliment, especially in the ego-based world now. It's like someone says something about you, you can laugh at yourself. You made something wrong. You don't always feel like you have to impress people. I'm too smart. I'm into smart, kind, funny men. Good for you. That sounds like a good combination. Yes, I feel she is shy. Florida. Okay. A relationship is like Super Mario and you only have a handful of lives. Once it's over, it's over. Yeah, I've never said it. That's a good piggyback to what I was saying in the game. You can't restart the game. There's certain moments where you just can't forgive or forget what went down, because what happens is, let's say you break up a few times, and there are some people out there, especially in younger relationships, like in their 20s, break up to make up, and it becomes this playbook. But really, when people break up a lot, they're just trying to win, right? It's like they're going for the kill shot, right? It's like, well, I'll break up with you if I don't get my way. It's like, okay, that's mature. But breakups are heavy on people, right? They scare people. It's like this client I just had yesterday who's, like I said, he's great with women. What I mean by that, he understands attraction. He has a lot of confidence. But when he breaks up, he's come to me a few times over the years. It still hurts him, right? What I mean by that is, like, every time you break up, you're creating a situation where the person now thinks, I don't trust you as much because you're willing to go to that level in the relationship to get your way, or you scared me when we broke up, and now I don't have that trust that you're really going to be unconditional and be there for me or work through things. So even if you get back together, for example, let's put it like this. Let's say someone's married, right? And they have kids. They have a reason to get back together that's bigger than them if they're responsible and parents of integrity, right? They're like, we got to do this for the kids, right? They have an opportunity, and if they didn't break up 10, 15 times, right? They broke up maybe once or twice. They know the issue. It's fixable. People that are not having kids or not married, if you break up one or two times, third time's a charm. And this is why when I tell people, like, whatever's going on in your relationship, talk to a coach or a therapist like myself, because sometimes, even though I want my ex back, I just want you just want the feelings to go. A lot of times, even if you got them back, you're probably going to break up again because the problem's not fixed. You're just trying to fix the emotional part. And you know deep down the problem's not going to get fixed. And you've been running away from that or the problems because the intimacy is good, because it's fun, because there's good parts of the relationship. But once you break up, those problems come to the surface and there's an opportunity to fix them. But if you don't fix them and you get back together, you getting back together will just turn into 3 months or 6 months because you'll be more sensitive to those problems because now they've already bubbled up and been exposed. Does that make sense? Johnny Bo, well, I actually sent my story before. It was great advice, but I'm not sure if it's the best move on or attempt to address the issue and fix it. And I'm from NY, by the way. New York. Well, just email me and I'll let you know my availability because it's pretty late in New York right now. So I don't know if we're going to be able to do a session now, but I could probably do one in the morning for you. But I'll do my best to help you. Truth of life. What about Ben Affleck that appears to have gone back for seconds? I don't know. I don't follow that stuff. J-Lo is something else. Okay. I used to have a big crush on J-Lo. I thought she was one of the hottest actresses. And I'm not starstruck by many, but I always thought J-Lo was sweet. Rosanna says, exactly, Mac. Well, thanks, Rosanna. Well, we just hit an hour. This has been good. I guess the old band is back together with the late night crew. We have a little bit more spirited talk here than when I was doing mornings. Just a random thing. I'll probably make a video about it in the future. But if you, everyone knows that meditation's good for you, but a lot of people have trouble meditating, right? So if you talk, a large portion of people that do really well have meditation as part of their practice. But a good way to induce that or have a similar state is, and this you can find these all over YouTube, is binaural beats. I might have spelled that wrong, or bilateral stimulation. I know Clutch is going to make a joke about that word. Bilateral stimulation. I think music. So look those up. And when you're doing any binaural beats, if you put that in while you're doing some writing or some work, it'll really help you with flow. So if you have trouble concentrating or getting into that state to relax yourself, Mary, Petty Betty, bilateral stimulation music is great to rewire. Basically what it is it'll be music that'll have a beat that goes one like bop, 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 right? And what it does is it stimulates both sides of your brain. And when you're stuck on something, it reorganizes that. It's really nice. I've been using this for a while. I'm looking into maybe making my own channel with this because I just think it's so useful. It's so useful to use these binaural beats or bilateral stimulation music. 15 minutes, 20 minutes. If you want to do an hour, hour and a half, it'll put you in a flow state or a zone, especially people that are auditory learners, which I am. That's why I like to talk. Highly auditory. Go ahead and research that yourself, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I've been using that a lot the last few months. And the bilateral stimulation, if you can't, let's just say that you're stuck on a problem. And bilateral stimulation is actually what they use in EMDR, which is a form of therapy. But you could use the music and it calms your mind down. So I just want to throw that out there while that was on my mind, because a lot of people that have anxiety or different things, and you want some useful things to actually do. It's like so many videos right now are telling people what's wrong, but not really telling them tools to use. So if you have trouble calming down or relaxing and it's like 3 p.m, and you got some time, throw on some bilateral stimulation music or some binaural beats. And also consider doing that when you're doing your work. I'm not that immature, says who. You're clever, though. You're clever. Get fit with Sunshine Shanny in Jamaica, man. Hey, man. Hey, man. I'd love to go to Jamaica. You know, what's crazy is Bob Marley is such a legend that I live in Thailand. There's Bob Marley bars here. There's Bob Marley bars in Mexico. There's Bob Marley bars everywhere, right? He is so iconic. That'd be so cool to see where he made all that music. There's plenty of very weird binaural beats on YouTube as well. I'm just saying, try it out. Try it out. It helps relax you and calm you down. It's an alternative to trying to sit cross-legged and be quiet with your mind. It really helps. So, like I said, I'm looking at that. Laquita, it's been a while. How you doing? Colorado's finest, I believe. Anyone have any topics you want me to touch on next week? I'm not sure. Sometimes I'm thinking about cutting down the live streams a little bit. But we'll see coming into this next week. Tomorrow, the topic was, just to give you guys a heads up, 5 things that turn men off to relationships. Really good topic, actually, because some of my women clients are really pushy. They want what they want. And they're in relationships with the guys like, I need more time. There's the biological clock, which I totally understand. But there's also this situation where he's not on your biological clock, and you pushing him is going to push him away, right? So 5 things that'll push away a guy in a relationship. I'd say one of the big ones is being controlling. Trying to lock a guy down with manipulation. If the guy's smart enough, he won't stick around for it. But fortunately for those kinds of women, there are men out there that can be manipulated quite easily with certain tactics, right? Certain tactics that work quite frequently. Really? Really, Petty Betty? All right, folks, it's been a pleasure. Rosanna, Laquita, if I said that correct. Rob IS, Clutch, Petty Betty, Eve, thanks for joining. Johnny Boy, I'll touch base if you sent me an email. And I think we had the great Andrew Aragon. Thanks for coming in. I'm May. It's been a pleasure. It is curtains.